Peppa Pig may have returned with new episodes, but the mistakes are just as messy as ever. 1. Daddy Pig's ghost arm. In the episode where baby Evie first comes home, Daddy Pig is holding her in his arms. At first glance, everything looks normal, but if you pause and look closely, you'll see something truly strange. His arm goes straight through Evie's face, like she's not even solid. It feels less like a warm family moment and more like a ghost story. For a second, it looks as though Daddy Pig has gained the ability to phase through matter. Creepy, hilarious, and impossible all at once. 2. The disappearing cheek mark. Eve is given a special little detail to make her stand out, a heart-shaped spot on her cheek. It is meant to be her most unique feature, but the animators seem to forget it exists. When she turns her head, the spot simply vanishes. Both sides of her face suddenly look identical, as if her design was copied and pasted halfway through the scene. It feels like Eve's charm is stolen in real time, leaving behind a strangely unfinished version of her. 3. The wrong day family portrait. During Eve's supposed first day at home, there's a cozy shot of the Pig family walking past a framed picture. At first, it looks sweet, everyone together, smiling after a fun pizza outing. But there's one major problem. Evie is right there in the photo, happily included, even though the episode insists she just came back from the hospital. The timeline makes no sense at all. Somehow the family managed a dinner out with a baby who wasn't even home yet. 4. The sun that never moves. When Peppa, George, and Daddy Pig paint Evie's new room, the window shows a bright sunny day. Time passes, the walls are finished, and it is suddenly dark outside. But here's the odd part. The sun has not budged an inch. It's still shining in the same spot it was earlier, as if the sky forgot how to work. The result is a bizarre picture, where it is night and day at once, like the Pig family lives on a broken planet. 5. The vanishing living room TV. In the episode of Hide and Seek, the Pig family gathers in their living room. At first, nothing looks unusual, but if you know this room well, you'll notice something very wrong. The family's big TV, which is normally fixed in the corner, has completely disappeared. There is no trace of it, not even a blank spot on the wall. It feels like the house suddenly went on a budget cut, or maybe the animators accidentally erased modern technology from their world. 6. The mismatched hands and bald tail. In the basketball episode, Susie is chatting with Peppa when something strange jumps out. One of her hands is bright white while the other is a dull gray, like she borrowed it from a completely different character. Before you can process that, the camera cuts to Zoe Zebra catching the ball. Her tail, which is usually fluffy with stripes, suddenly looks bare and lifeless. Then, in the very next frame, the fur magically returns. It feels like both characters were stitched together with spare parts. 7. The wandering breadcrumbs. In Detective Peppa, the mystery begins with a neat little trail of crumbs leading across a room. It looks like a perfect clue, but the trail can't seem to decide where it wants to be. One moment, the crumbs are gone completely, as if swept away. The next, they return. But now they sit closer to the door instead of the window where they began. It feels less like detective work and more like the crumbs themselves are trying to confuse everyone on purpose. 8. George the teleporter. In Not Very Well, George can't seem to pick a spot and stay there. At first, he is standing right in front of Daddy Pig. Seconds later, he is suddenly squeezed between both parents. Before you even register that, he's shifted again, now planted in front of Mummy Pig instead. Nobody sees him move, and there's no time for him to walk. It plays out like George has mastered teleportation, quietly hopping through space like it's no big deal. 9. The drop that shouldn't exist. Also in Not Very Well, Dr. Bear pours medicine for George. The bottle is tilted all the way, completely upside down. By logic, the entire liquid should gush out in one messy spill. Instead, only a single neat drop lands perfectly on the spoon. It's almost too precise, as though the medicine has its own sense of control. Rather than a cure, it looks more like Dr. Bear is handling a magical potion that defies the laws of gravity. 10. The lipstick that walks away. In Dressing Up, Peppa plays pretend by trying on old clothes and even lipstick. For a while, she struts around in her fancy outfit, makeup still bright on her face. But then, she changes out of the dress, and something very strange happens. The lipstick disappears along with the outfit, almost like it was sewn directly into the fabric. Makeup doesn't work that way in real life. Instead of lipstick, it feels more like Peppa accidentally discovered vanishing ink. 11. The traveling vase and lipsticks. In Daddy Pig Loses Glasses, the family's bedroom turns into a moving puzzle. A vase that sits neatly by the window suddenly pops up beside the closet without anyone touching it. Even stranger, 3 lipsticks on the dressing table slide across the surface like they have minds of their own. One shot shows them lined up normally, and the next, they're shifted to the side. Nothing in the scene explains it, making it look like invisible hands are rearranging the furniture mid-episode. 12. The bathroom position swap. Still in Daddy Pig loses glasses, Peppa and George search the bathroom. At first, Peppa is clearly standing behind George while he looks into the bathtub. Then the scene cuts wider, and suddenly, Peppa is on the other side, checking the toilet seat. She never moves across the room, she just appears there. It looks less like a quick search for Daddy's glasses and more like a strange game of teleportation happening right in the middle of their bathroom. 13. Granny Pig's disappearing hat. In Mr. Potato Comes to Town, Granny Pig joins the crowd outside the sports center. She's wearing her usual wide hat, but by the time the pig family arrives, the hat has vanished. Moments later, it's right back on her head like nothing happened. The confusion doesn't stop there. When Mr. Potato cuts the ribbon, people are already waiting inside the building before the doors even open. Either half the town can walk through walls, or the animators were in a serious rush. 14. The flipping dumbbell painting. Also in Mr. Potato Comes to Town, take a look at the background while Susie is talking. A painting of a dumbbell hangs on the wall, steady for a moment, but in the very next frame, the painting flips itself to face the other way. Nobody touched it. The dumbbell just spins direction like it's trying to escape the wall. It's the kind of tiny mistake you'd never notice unless you pause, but once you do, it feels almost supernatural. 15. The shifting museum wall. In the museum, Peppa admires a crown displayed on a shelf. Behind her, the background is a plain purple wall, but when the camera zooms closer, the wall has vanished and a glass cabinet takes its place. There's no transition, no cutaway, just an entirely new background appearing out of nowhere. It looks as if the museum itself can't decide whether to be full of priceless treasures or just bare walls. Either way, the scene feels more like a glitch than history. 16. The boat that rebuilds itself. In Captain Daddy Pig, the family sets off for a nice day on the water, but their boat seems to have a mind of its own. At first, the deck looks simple, then a shiny bell suddenly appears on the pole. Later, the picnic blanket is filled with food, but when the camera pulls back, it is empty. As the trip ends, a random piece of metal pops up on the boat's back. It feels less like sailing and more like riding a transforming machine. 17. The multiplying bananas. In Banana Split, the kitchen scene gets weirder with every shot. The counter starts with 5 bananas, neatly laid out. Grandma and George take one each, so 3 should remain. But somehow, only 2 bananas are left and the cutting board disappears. Then, in the ice cream cup, a mysterious extra banana slice appears. The math makes no sense. It is as if the fruit keeps sneaking off stage, then reappearing in different spots like it's playing tricks on the pig family. 18. The tree that grows too much. In Madame Gazelle's house, the family notices her home is leaning because of a nearby tree. At first, the branches look completely bare, but when Mr. Bull climbs the same tree, things suddenly change. Now there's a full bird's nest, a wide-eyed owl, and even a beehive attached to it. None of these were there seconds earlier. The tree practically restocks itself in real time, turning from empty to overcrowded. It feels less like nature and more like stage props appearing on cue. 19. The box that can't pick a color. In Granny Sheep Moves In, Mummy Sheep carries a stack of cardboard boxes into another room. They all look the same until the very top one pulls a magic trick. In one shot, it is the same brown color as the others. Seconds later, it turns white, standing out completely. When the boxes are set down, the white one instantly shifts back to brown, blending in again. It is as if the box itself couldn't decide which outfit to wear that day. 20. The case of the vanishing basket. In the market, Daddy Pig proudly carries a basket of apples, while Mummy Pig follows behind. But in the next shot, both Mummy Pig and the basket vanish completely, leaving Daddy standing alone. Things get stranger at Mr. Fox's stall. He shows off a wooden apple, which is clearly sitting on the counter. But when the view changes, the apple disappears as if swallowed by thin air. The market feels less like shopping and more like a messy magic show. 21. The nose that breaks walls. In Eve's first day, Grandpa Pig rushes over to meet the baby. He rings the bell, but before Daddy Pig even opens the door, Grandpa's nose is already poking through it. The door is still closed, yet his snout has crossed solid wood like it doesn't exist. It looks more like a ghost haunting the pig family than a friendly visit. For a moment, you can't tell if Grandpa is excited to meet Eve or secretly phasing into another dimension. 22. The balloon that can't decide. Also in Eve's first day, Peppa carries a teddy balloon that can't make up its mind. In one shot, the balloon is solid and opaque, blocking everything behind it. Then, without warning, it turns translucent, allowing us to see straight through. Seconds later, it flips back again. It is less like a normal balloon and more like a shape-shifting prop. Imagine trying to hold a balloon that keeps changing its material every second. The result feels unsettling, almost like it is alive. 23. The car that spins without moving. In Perfect Day, the pig family drives to the mall and parks their car facing the building. It seems normal until later, when they come back out. The car is now turned the other way, facing the opposite direction, even though nobody moved it. Cars don't just rotate themselves in parking lots. It makes the vehicle seem haunted, slowly spinning when no one is watching. The pigs may have gone shopping, but their car clearly went for a joyride of its own. 24. The boots that appear from nowhere. Still in Perfect Day, Daddy Pig leaves the mall and hops out of the family car. Strangely, he is wearing green boots. Just moments earlier, when he stepped into the car, he had on black shoes. There is no scene of him changing footwear, no bag of new clothes, nothing. The shoes simply morph into boots between cuts. It looks less like shopping and more like witchcraft. One second he is a dad in shoes, the next he is ready for gardening. 25. The children with no arms. In the little boat, the family drives to their picnic spot. The camera focuses on Peppa and George in the back seat, but something disturbing stands out. Both children are missing their arms completely. They just sit there, with empty bodies, smiling as if nothing is wrong. The seat in front of Peppa is also strangely empty, even though Daddy Pig was there earlier. The scene feels like a low-budget horror moment, with missing limbs and vanishing drivers thrown together. 26. The cat that jumps rows. In Mr. Potato's Christmas show, the audience is full of children. At first, a brown cat sits quietly in the row ahead of Peppa. Then the camera shifts, and somehow the same cat is now sitting right in the very front row. Moments later, it's back near Peppa again, as if it's bouncing around the theater without moving a muscle. It looks less like a school play and more like a paranormal event, with one cat haunting several seats at once. 27. Susie in two places at once. In Sports Day, Susie Sheep pulls off an impossible trick. She is clearly seen standing on the track, bickering with Peppa. But when the scene cuts wider, Susie is also cheering with the rest of the group. It's like she's split into two versions of herself. One ready to argue, the other clapping on the sidelines. The show plays it straight, but the result feels eerie. Either Susie is superhuman, or the animators forgot which version of her they were using. 28. The kids who swap seats. In Grandpa's Little Train, all the children climb aboard for a fun ride. Richard Rabbit sits comfortably next to George, while Candy Cat is across from them. But in the very next shot, Richard and Candy have swapped seats without moving. There's no shuffle, no climbing, no sign of a switch. The train seems to rearrange its passengers at will. Instead of a playful train ride, it looks like the carriage itself is playing a strange game of musical chairs. 29. The mud that appears from nowhere. In Grampy Rabbit's lighthouse, Grandad Dog shows up to help. He appears neat and spotless, his clothes perfectly clean. Then the camera changes, and suddenly his vest and face are smeared with mud. He never tripped, never touched the ground, and never left the frame. The dirt simply appeared out of thin air. The mistake makes him look like he walked through a storm in the blink of an eye. 1 second tidy, the next completely filthy, with no reason why. 30. The cake that refuses to shrink. In Pretend Friend, Mummy Pig cuts slices of cake for Peppa and Susie. Later, she cuts a third slice for Susie's imaginary friend. By now, 3 pieces have been taken out, but the cake itself still looks whole, barely changed at all. It never shrinks, no matter how much gets served. The scene turns a normal dessert into a bizarre mystery. It feels like the pigs own a magical bottomless cake that replaces every slice the moment it is removed. And that's the end of our Peppa Pig mistake hunt. Some were tiny slip-ups, and others completely broke logic. But here's something to think about. If a kids' show is this packed with errors, should we laugh it off, or should we call it lazy storytelling?